Welcome to the Bulletin. In a visit to Gaza today, new European Union Foreign Affairs Chief Federica Mogherini made calls for Palestinian statehood. She urged that this was the ultimate goal and another war in Gaza just cannot be afforded. Mogherini spoke on behalf of the EU, stating that the goal of a Palestinian state is the position of all of the European Union. However, she added that Sweden's recognition didn't represent a template for other EU members, as a new Palestinian state should be established rather than recognized. This comes ahead of her meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, where she urged the decreasing of tensions. Speaking from Palestine is EU Foreign Chief Federica Mogherini.
We know that also for reconstruction, we need to have a Palestinian government acting here.
ونعلم أنه لذلك نحتاج إلى حكومة فلسطينية فاعلة هنا في غزة.
That's why I believe, and all Europeans with me, that it is important that the national consensus government manages to act here in Gaza.
Now, we're joined by MAHA RAHWANJI, political and social commentator live from London. MAHA, thank you very much for joining us. Firstly, how will Mogherini's comments go down with the Israeli entity and its allies?
It's interesting that you should call it an Israeli entity, first of all. But also the Israeli allies tend to read from the Israeli PA crib sheet, unfortunately. So basically, whatever the Israeli foreign policy dictates, the Israeli allies will tend to simply reiterate what it is that Israel wants them to say. They don't seem to have their own opinion. So it's quite refreshing that the EU is calling for an independent Palestinian state. And as we know, the map of states around the world that has already recognized Palestine numbers to quite a few. I don't remember exactly how many, but I know the number of states who don't recognize Palestine are very much in the minority. Now, let me also give examples with regarding to the Palestinian state. I would like to know what that means for the ordinary Palestinian living both in Israel, in the West Bank, and in Gaza. What does it mean for them on the ground? Will they have control over their borders? Will they have control over access to the sea? Will they have control over the rivers and the aquifers that run under their land? Will they have their own currency? Will they have their own government? Will they be able to take control of their economic policy and their military and self-defense?
Interesting questions. Interesting questions, Maha, but we have to move on. We understand that Sweden recognized Palestine as a state. Now, do you think other EU nations will follow suit?
Who did you say, sorry?
Sweden. They've recently recognized Palestine as a state. Now, do you think other EU members will follow suit?
I think most European countries will follow suit, with the exception of the United Kingdom and France and possibly Germany, because they tend to, as I say, read the directive of the Israeli political body.
Now, what about the UK and France, and especially the UK, where it's also been a strong defender of Israel? What about their chances?
I think in the recent motion that was put forward in the House of Commons, the motion was overwhelmingly in favour of recognizing the Palestinian state. Now, if that translates into a decision to actually recognize the Palestinian state, and that will come as a wonderfully refreshing change and will enable the PA to take control of its power.
Now, Maha, are we seeing a significant change in the traditional relationships between the West and Israel?
I don't, well, when you talk about the West, you have to be very specific. You have to say which Western country you are referring to, because each country recognizes Palestine in a different way and supports Palestine in a different way. So I'll give you an example. Spain, as a government, supports the Palestinians, whereas the UK tends to support the Israeli government unequivocally. And we've heard David Cameron make his position quite clear on a number of occasions.
Now, do you think this growing sentiment towards Palestine and Israel is due to the growing support for the Palestinian cause and condemnations of Israeli war crimes?
I think so. I think the momentum is gathering. I think people on the ground know that what they see on their screens, particularly with the wider Western media, I don't want to refer to them by name, but I think we all know who they are. Their rhetoric does not equal what's happening on the ground. And thank goodness to social media, people, the likes of the ordinary person on the street can see what's happening in Palestine. They don't need the usual media outlet to drip feed them the information that was given in the past. So, for example, we've heard directly from bloggers who recorded bloggers in Gaza who recorded the drones and the airstrikes, and they got hundreds of thousands of followers on Twitter, and we were able to listen directly to them. So they know what they're seeing on mainstream TV and radio and what is actually happening on the ground. And I think that is helping to turn the tide and gather momentum.
Okay, we're just going to have to leave it there. Maha Rahwanji, political and social commentator from London, thank you very much for your time.